Hello YouTube, Liz here for Leave It to Lefty. I wanted to show you my new yarn winder. I ended up getting the Loops and Threads yarn winder from Michael's. It was the only one available in town and I didn't want to wait for shipping. I needed it that day. I got it about a week ago. And I had been using this, the Nosta Penna, and I was just getting a little frustrated with that. So, see the little grooves in there where you start tie it on and then you start turning it back and forth. And I just decided that, nope, I'm going to get a yarn winder. So, here it is. It's small, it's perfect, and I love it. It fits on the table that I set up for the Addy. I've got it on there. In my last video, I said that I was going to put the Addy toward the back of the table, but I ended up putting it to the front of the table because I was having to lean over too much, and the cranking really gets tiring after a while, so I needed to be able to sit back a little bit and have it closer. This leg down here that clamps it onto the table does get in the way like I predicted, and then the one over on the other side too, and I have to be careful that it doesn't get hung up in my yarn or hurt my leg. So I decided it was worth it so that I could sit back. So I also clamped on the yarn winder. It's perfect size for me. I have kind of a small room and I don't want to take up a lot of space with the ones that are up high that swing back and forth. This one rotates, the pin right here rotates where the yarn goes. It's a little bit squeaky, but that doesn't bother me. I'm not going to be doing it forever, and so what? So here's my big mess of yarn that I want to turn into a nice neat cake so that I can organize my stash and have everything ready to go. So when I get this sorted out, I'll come back and we'll start. Okay, so there's a little notch right here, and there's another little notch on the opposite side right here. Now for me, I set it up so that I crank with my right hand. I experimented with both ways, but my left-handedness strength is in my right hand for gross motor skills, and for fine motor skills, my left hand is what does the work. So this is set up pretty good for me. So you find the notch. I don't know if that's true for all left-handed people, but everybody's got their strengths. Okay, so they'll put the end of the yarn through the notch, and then this little clip comes out, and all you do is you take the yarn and thread it around, just wrap it around like this a couple of times, and it goes through there, and that's what causes the wraps to be on there nicely. There you go. That's what causes the wraps to form backwards and forwards like that. It looks kind of rough right now, but it does get better. Now tension is really important. So what I do is I pull the yarn out. I've got a little box down here with the bulk of the yarn in it. It's a big mess. I'll have to stop and sort it out again. But I hold it just tight enough so that it's sliding through my fingers. Another thing that's good for, not only to hold the tension so it makes a nice tight, not too tight, but a nice cake, is that if you run into a knot or other flaw in your yarn, you'll catch it before it gets incorporated into the new cake. So it does squeak a little bit, but it didn't squeak as much until I tried to overfill it. I had a cake that ended up this big, and it started hitting down at the bottom, and when I did that, it started getting a little squeakier, so I regret that. So don't do that. I didn't force it, I just went just a few turns too many. So now I'm going to keep feeding it from this big mess down here. And unwinding yarn is really not fun, and I've been doing it quite a bit since I got this because It was so fun making the cakes that I've been finding anything I could to wind. So I decided I would go through my stash and wind up everything that was partial skeins. This is Loops and Threads Impeccable, and I really like this yarn. I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby all the time, but I ran out and I needed something right away, and Hobby Lobby's in the metro area and I'm in a rural area. So I went over to Michael's and tried their Loops and Threads Impeccable, and it's just fabulous. I really like it. I love the way it feels. I like that it's not fuzzy. I couldn't believe it. After I started using this and I went back to I Love This Yarn, it seemed fuzzy to me. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is just, it's just perfect. And it has great stitch definition. So the selection is limited. That's not good. But see, when you run into something like this takes time to sit here and pull all this stuff apart. And sometimes if it gets too overwhelming, I've just decided I'm going to cut it. I'm at the stage of my life where I'm not going to fool with it too much. Now see, it's starting to poke out right there a little bit. It's not perfect. And the more expensive ones may be, you know, more precise, but it didn't really matter. That wasn't important to me. And holding the tension is the best thing. See, it's poking out right there a little bit, but that's not going to bother me. I have to keep feeding it. If I was feeding it from a center pull, that would have been more expedient, but I'm trying to make a center pull. So see, I'm holding the tension, it's sliding through my hands. There's quite a bit down here. It was probably about half a skein maybe left of the Impeccable. I don't know how many ounces Impeccable is. I could look at a label, but I've not weighed the yarn to see how big the cakes are. I just know that that is too much. I did this one earlier, and that's Impeccable, and that was about half a skein maybe. So you can kind of see how big the cakes come out to be. The cakes are great to stack on your shelf. They really are easier. They take up less room. I'd rewind everything, but I'm not going to. That's crazy. As I go and use up my stash, I'll do it. But I've got all this down in here, so I'm going to stop and I'll come back when I get to the end. I'm still working on it. You see how nice and neat it is? And that little bobble at the beginning didn't really bother me too much. I wanted to emphasize how important it is to hold the tension loosely, but with purpose, let's say. And I don't think turning the handle too fast is a good idea. I think this is about the best speed right here. About like that. Let me get a little bit more out and I'll show you. Okay. About like that. I'm getting close to the end. I've got a little bit of a mess down here I'm going to untangle, and then I'll come back. So here I am. I've got this much left. It's kind of knotted up right here. And at this point, I decided I'm going to cut it. As horrible as that sounds, I'm going to do it. I'm an ovarian cancer survivor, and I've decided that life is too short for me to sit here and unknot all this stuff. And see, it's gotten into one of these kind of situations. I don't know if you can see that too well, but it's really twisted on itself. And I just don't feel like fooling with it. If I had a project that I needed every scrap of that yarn, yeah, maybe, but I'll hang on to this. And someday I might need it. I'll just put it right back down there. Okay, so here's the end. And what I'm going to do is let it pull out of the little guide down there. And then I'm just going to take it and put a little loop here so I know where the end is, so it doesn't come undone. Now, I learned this the hard way. You have to remember to undo the notch and hang on to that as you slide it off. If I had a label, this is the time to put it. I could fold it up in here and pull it off with it, because it starts to collapse inside a little bit and gets a little smaller and tighter. So there's the end, and there's that nice little cake. It's great. I love this little machine. There's a smaller one. Yeah. So there you have it. Tension is important. Speed of cranking is important. I haven't tried other kind of yarns. I have not tried cotton. I haven't tried any of the specialty yarns at all. I'm just going to cake up some of these and have fun with it. So that's all I have for right now. I have my stash getting neatened, neatening up my stash, and I'm going to try to sort it out a little bit better. I had it sorted by brand, and then I decided today to sort it by color. And I kind of like that. I'm going to see how it goes. I like doing it by brand, so if I'm making a project, I like to keep the same brand of yarn together if I have multicolors. It's not necessary, but I don't know, sometimes when you are going to make an Afghan or something, and it's going to be laundered, I kind of like to know that the yarn's going to all wear the same or behave the same. And anyway, this time I decided to go by color, so I've got my neutrals, my white, my black, my brown, all the greens and blues and purples, and then the variegateds. I've been really enjoying using variegated for the Addy knitting machine. That's fun. And then there's the reds and pinks and oranges down there. And we'll see how it goes. So, thanks for watching. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you will. I'd appreciate it. It'd be really fun to have you in my group and all the left-handed people.